Hello and welcome to the Chupacabra Legacy. As a note, I know it should be pronounced Chupacabra, and I will try to keep this in mind during the video, but I may undoubtedly slip up and go back into my American version from time to time. About 2 years ago, I created a video going into great detail about the cryptid known as the Mothman. At the time, I had zero plans to continue this out as a type of series, and that still holds to this day. However, in our #AskBen video, some points were brought up about the Chupacabra, and this week I was looking into Bolivia and uncovered some odd information about this creature. So, today I am finally making the video about the Chupacabra, and it has been a long time coming. We will be taking a deep dive into what the creature possibly is, the history of its sightings, and more importantly, how it has changed over time. When it comes to the Chupacabra, no other cryptid has seen the same meteoric rise in popularity, yet at the same time suffering a complete twist in its history. Many are quick to mention that it is one of the newest creatures added to the cryptozoological menagerie, with references to it first being reported in 1995. Although, this information is a little misleading, since there are multiple reports from previous years and locations. Yet, the 1995 encounter provided the first detailed description. Even as such, descriptions of the being have been altered greatly through time. Due to all these difficulties, it probably is best to start our journey where it all began, and follow along chronologically with the later sightings. Our beginning starts out with a real weird encounter. In 1957, a UFO was said to have crashed in the mountains of Canoas, Puerto Rico. To this day, the site still shows signs of something hitting the mountain, where it carved out some dirt, and oddly enough, no vegetation has grown in the area outside of grass. According to local lore, the U.S. military, stationed at Roosevelt Roads Naval Station, quickly drove to the site and sealed it off from prying eyes for about 3 weeks. It was believed that they recovered alien bodies that looked like the common Chupacabra, and housed them at the base. The next report was in the 70s from Texas. Very little detail was known, but in the town of Brownsville, a rancher found one of his bulls dead in the field. While this isn't uncommon, what was odd was that the body had been drained of all blood, and there weren't any tracks found which would indicate what the assailant was. Then a few years later, in the Rio Grande Valley, more cattle were found dead with their blood being removed. Oddly enough, it was originally thought that the creatures that had attacked them was a condor, even though those birds aren't known to kill live prey. This leads one to assume that the characteristic puncture marks left behind from the Chupacabra were found on these animals. Then in 1975, in the Puerto Rico town of Mocha, multiple farm animals were found drained of all blood from 3 small puncture wounds. While never described, the assailant was given the name El Vampiro de Mocha, or the Vampire of Mocha. We then take this journey on quite a twist that is rarely discussed. In February of 1984, in El Yunque rainforest, there were multiple sightings of various UFO activity. On this day, a circular craft was seen flying around erratically, and it eventually crashed in the rainforest. Officially, the military claimed that the object was simply a meteorite, but they quickly taped off the area, but not before some locals got to investigate the crash. Reports claim that they saw alien bodies that greatly resembled the typical Chupacabra, which is a story we have heard before. They were seen as looking similar to a gray alien, but had distinct differences. These beings had an oval-shaped head, 2 elongated large red eyes, and small holes for a nose. They had an elongated jaw with several sharp teeth protruding out of the mouth. It had black hair-like spines running down its back, and its skin apparently could change color, much like a chameleon. In the dark, the skin would be black or dark brown, and while in the forest, it would be various forms of green to light beige. Its body stood bipedally, about 3 to 4 feet tall, had a reptilian appearance, and had 2 short arms, strong back legs resembling a kangaroo, each limb containing 3 digits and ending in sharp claws. It is thought that when the military arrived, their sole purpose was to recover the craft and the bodies. On March 11, 1995, in Oro Cavís, Puerto Rico, 8 sheep were found dead, drained of all blood, and had 3 puncture wounds in their chest. Now after all that, we finally get to the point where everyone tends to think the Chupacabra legend comes from. On August of 1995 in Canoas, after an outbreak of 150 animals including pets being found killed and drained of blood, an eyewitness named Madeline Tortolino claimed she actually saw the creature. Her and her neighbors located in the community of Campo Rico claimed that they saw the creature walking down the road at 3 p.m. When they went for a closer look, it ran away, in her words, at a fantastic speed. Madeline's description is what we know as the reptilian or original version of the Chupacabra, but it also resembles those seen in the previous story around the UFO in the rainforest. On October of 1995, 2 police officers were called out for a disturbance in Canoas. When they arrived, they saw the Chupacabra and immediately gave chase. The creature attempted to jump over a fence, but not before the officers managed to shoot it, but it still got away. The blood from the wound was collected, and it is reported that when tested, it showed it wasn't from any known animal. No further details about this report can be found, so take that for what you will. Following this, in November, a witness claimed she saw a similar looking being near the same town jump over a car and enter a UFO. This sighting, along with the increase in deaths, caused the government to seek answers behind the activity. At one point, Juan E. Lopez, the president of the Puerto Rico House of Representatives Agricultural Commission, issued a statement claiming that after launching an investigation, he became aware that the U.S. government, along with the Puerto Rican government, had actually captured 2 of the beings on the 6th and 7th of November. One was found in the town of San Lorenzo, and the other was in El Yuque rainforest. Both creatures were alive, but were transferred to the United States for study. Mr. Lopez claimed that both governments were covering up the information, and felt that them being linked to UFO activity was the reason behind it. UFO activity started to become more frequent following this, with pyramid shapes and luminous orb-style craft being seen. Each time these objects were observed, more livestock would be found drained of all blood. In fact, on November 18th, a craft that was 40 feet in diameter and had dark windows around the perimeter was seen hovering over a radio station in Barranquitas. The day after this, 2 Chupacabra reports came in. The first was from the town of Gawes, where dozens of turkeys, cats, dogs, cows, and even horses were found drained of blood. It was during this night that the creature was said to have torn open the window to a house and attacked a teddy bear. In its wake, it left a puddle of slime and a piece of flesh on the windowsill. It was said to have hairy arms and large red eyes. The being was seen at 7 a.m. attacking another house, but it vanished quickly. The other report on this night was in Canoas, and it was described as looking similar to a monkey, but it was 4 feet tall and it didn't have a tail. Apparently it was seen running out of the brush and biting a family's dog. From December 7th to the 18th, over 1,000 animals were found drained of blood, with the same distinct puncture marks left on their bodies. Some saw a being with large red eyes. In one of those events, prints were left behind that had 3 toes. What was really weird was that one of the animals found was a Siamese cat, and it had a puncture mark actually penetrating its skull. Things took an odd turn when on December 21st in the town of Guanica, a man named Osvaldo Claudio Rosado claimed that Chupacabra attacked him. Osvaldo was out washing his car when he claims a 5-foot-tall creature grabbed him from behind, and after fighting back, the being ran away, but not before leaving deep cuts on his body. On May 2nd of 1996, the creature returned to the Rio Grande Valley in Texas, where a 6-year-old goat was found with 3 puncture marks in its neck. That same day, reports came in from Juarez, Mexico, of a creature killing multiple animals. It was said to be tall, have the hind legs of a kangaroo, short upper arms, and spikes running down its back. These spikes were said to be able to raise and lower and produce their own light. With this report, we have the first description of how the creature is said to have drained the blood. Apparently, a long tube-like projection was seen coming from the mouth. Now, on May 3rd, a weird feature was added where in Mexico, there were at least 4 reports of the same type of creature actually being able to fly. Everything description-wise was the same, including it drinking blood, but now it could fly and it also attacked humans. Although, in playing devil's advocate, many claim that the creature can jump incredibly high, with some staying 20 feet in the air, so maybe it wasn't flying, but just appeared to be. On May 6th of 1996, the Espinoza family from Mexico claimed that a 3 to 4 foot tall creature with scaly skin, red glowing eyes, 3-toed clawed hands, and spikes running down its back actually managed to open their front door. There have been other similar sightings of this creature in Florida as well. A real oddity that no one ever talks about is that on November 12, 1997, two friends from Perth, Australia saw a chupacabra as well. They went outside to investigate the sound of their pigs squealing and encountered a creature they described as being large, having piercing red eyes, large teeth, and was 3 feet tall. As they neared, it immediately looked at them and had part of a kangaroo in its mouth. Within a second, it jumped out of sight. Now, this is where things take a really weird turn, if the previous encounters weren't already in that territory as is. From 1957 until 1999, the Chupacabra has always been a reptilian type of being that many could argue tends to have typical alien features. Around the year 2000, this creature suddenly began being described as more canine-like. It always was known to drink blood, and at first it retained its spines along the back, but then something changed, and it simply became something akin to a dog with mange. This huge change was the result of sightings from Texas which described a being known as a blue dog. Although, for posterity, it is well known that this comparison was done in error, but many places forget this fact. For some reason this version stuck, and similar sightings were reported from many of the western states including California, Arizona, and New Mexico. In fact, one of the most famous and well talked about encounters was from Phyllis Canyon from Texas in 2007. This is the dog that you will see many images of in a glass case. Then, in 2008, two police officers from DeWitt County in Texas released the infamous dash cam footage of the Chupacabra, also known as dog, running down the road. The dog version has stretched far and wide, with similar sightings being found in Canada in 2011, in both British Columbia and Ontario. Between October and December of 2018, residents in Manipur, India, claimed that many of their animals had been killed in a strange manner by a canine-like creature they called a chupacabra. I couldn't find any clear reason why the description would change so drastically, so this is a mystery. Unless you are willing to go with the government cover-up or it is an alien species theories. I do find it interesting that the creature found in Louisiana, known as the Grunch Road Monster, or Grunch for short, seems to be a link between the two creatures. It is reptilian in features, has spines running down its back, is typically green, but it howls like a wolf, leaves one puncture hole when it drinks blood, and it tends to walk around on all fours. Another interesting piece of the puzzle is that the Grunch has had many legends about it since settlers first started coming to the state. So, is it possible the reptile form and dog form are both based off of this one? It has come to a point where I believe that we can officially say that when people utilize the term Chupacabra, it no longer refers to a specific creature. It now simply means an unknown creature that tends to drink the blood of its victims. It honestly saddens me that this creature has gotten to this point. Before closing this topic, I do want to address a few issues. Many, sadly including myself, originally wrote off Madeline's famous sighting in 1995. This was due to there being a lot of evidence found that she had just previously watched the movie Species, and that alien in the movie looked very similar to what she had reported seeing. It even went as far as her stating that she thought that what she saw in the movie was actually happening in real life. I obviously can't defend this since it shows signs of delusional thoughts. No offense meant to Madeline. The problem is that, as stated, many claim that her account was the first sighting of the Chupacabra. Well, we have many reports dating back to 1957 that all describe the same being, so that is a little harder to rule out as an act of imagination. The other issue is that many scientists and skeptics claim that attacks are real, but they are the result of an escaped primate or wild dog. The problem is that all puncture wounds are located in a singular area. If a dog bit a goat's neck, you would see punctures in the throat and on the opposite side, since there are fangs on the top and the bottom. Not to mention that when examined, many of the holes in the victims were 3 to 4 inches deep, and in a triangular pattern. Some reports even claim that the holes appeared to be cauterized as well. I'm not sure how this would help when drinking blood, but apparently this is frequently seen when the puncture wounds involve areas where internal organs are being punctured, particularly the liver. Finally, there are many other sightings from around the world of different types of beings that are akin to the Chupacabra, but I feel the ones mentioned should suffice for our interests. On another note, I learned from my friend named Luis from Puerto Rico that the reptilian Chupacabra is held near and dear to the culture, so that sort of hurts the dog version being viable. As I end this, I hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of the Chupacabra. Personally, I learned a lot of information that I wasn't even aware of. I always heard the story that it was possibly an escaped pet from an alien race, so with all the UFO sightings being linked to it, maybe there is something to that. I am curious what your thoughts are. Is it an alien, escaped lab experiment being either man-made or alien in nature? Is it an unknown creature? Or is it simply a fantastic tall tale? A few weeks ago, I mentioned that my videos would be on Intrigue TV. Well, I can happily say that this did happen, and they are currently airing our Cryptid by State series on WCRN in Boston, streaming on the Intrigue TV app on Roku, Apple TV, Google, and Fire Stick. It won't be hard to find me, since it is simply called The Ben Miller Show. So, while I greatly appreciate you watching my videos here, there are other ways you can catch up on my content. Also, I am sorry for not being active in the comment section as of late. My schedule has been a little wild. I promise to respond to as many as I can in the coming weeks. Finally, I want to extend a huge thank you to Barry Barrett. He is a longtime viewer, and he recently sent me an unexpected package that included a Mothman figure. It was greatly appreciated, and I never have too many Mothman items. If you haven't yet done so, do please consider subscribing to my channel for more content like this. Also, it would be greatly appreciated if you share my videos with someone you know who may enjoy this type of genre. With that, be safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.